Questions for reflection. In our first reading, the Lord is speaking through the prophet Isaiah. He denounces a self-seeking leader named Shebna and establishes Eliakim, the son of Hilkiah, to replace him. In his commentary on this historic event, St. Jerome says that Eliakim did not fare any better as a ruler. He dispensed patronage to members of his own family and fell away from the Lord and into disfavor. Leadership requires integrity. It requires a single-hearted focus on God. After all authority comes from the Lord. In some sphere, every one of us is called to exercise leadership. Every one of us is given authority. In exercising it with integrity, we all need, more than anything else, to stay close to the Lord. He alone can help us to stay faithful to our charge. David the psalmist is a great example to us of how to do this. His continual praise of the Lord served to draw him back to the Lord, even though he fell. David was a man of deep prayer, and that's our call as well, to be a man and a woman of prayer. Our second reading for today's Mass is taken from the very last part of the 11th chapter of St. Paul's letter to the Romans. In this chapter, the apostle has spoken of God's call to the Jewish people as continuing, and his inclusion of the Gentiles who believe in Jesus Christ into the church, grafted into the vine, who is Jesus Christ. And he ends this beautiful explanation with a prayer, and I quote, "How rich and deep are the wisdom and the knowledge of God. We cannot reach to the root of his decisions or his ways. Who's ever known the mind of the Lord? Who's ever been his advisor? Who has given anything to him so that his presence come only as a debt returned? Everything there is comes from him and is caused by him and exists for him. To him be glory forever. Amen." We are called to totally trust in the plan of the Lord in our own lives as well. The question which Jesus poses to his disciples is asked of each one of us. Who do you say I am? That same question is asked to each one of us. Who do you say that I am? It's not just asked once, but continually. It's meant to inform the response of our entire life, and how we answer that question determines who we will become and how we will live. It's a question which cannot be answered indirectly or half-heartedly, and it's not enough to rely on what some say. How this question is answered has historic consequences. The answer has changed millions of lives. It has informed the founding as well as the fall of nations. It has transformed barbarians into saints and inspired the most beautiful art the world has ever seen. It has prompted acts of bravery and sacrifice which changed the course of history. This question divided human history. It's also divided families and entire nations. This question is the most important question to ever be asked, and it requires a radical response from the heart, the center of the human person. And that answer paves the path toward how one lives and dies. And this question finds its origin in a dialogue between Jesus and his early followers recorded in the Gospel of Matthew. Their first answers came from the thinking of the crowd, and when they answered from the heart, they were transformed. The question begs to be answered in this urgent hour, and the answer can change the whole world. Peter answered clearly and correctly. He was prepared for a new and unique vocation as an instrument, a vicar of Christ. He is the rock upon which the church will be built. Who is Jesus Christ to you? The only proper response is Peter's response. You are the Christ, the Son of the living God.